we bring in Brad Lander, let me play for you guys this video of Brad Lander getting arrested by ICE at a detention facility where he was going to try to support a detainee who actually had shown up for his hearing. Do we have that video? Okay, here we go. Brad Lander being arrested.
Judicial warrant. Can I see the warrant? I will let go when you show me the judicial warrant.
Where is it?
New York City mayoral candidate Brad Lander arrested by federal agents outside an immigration courtroom. He linked arms with the defendant. Agents were detaining and refused to let go, demanding to see a warrant. Hours later, authorities released Lander. Charges were dropped. Lander, who currently serves as New York City comptroller, denies assaulting officers, saying he acted nonviolently.
Brad Lander, comptroller of New York. Thank you so much for being here.
Joy, thank you. It's an honor to be on with you.
Thank you so much. I want to start by asking you about that arrest. What happened after that? Were you detained for any period of time? And do you know what happened with the man who you were actually there trying to help?
Yeah. So I was detained for about 4 hours. I sat in an interview room, think of like a Law and Order interview room. And they didn't really tell me much of anything. They just held me for about 4 hours. I will say on the wall of the interview room, where you usually have like the posters that are like, wash your hands, before you go back to work or pay the minimum wage, was a sign that said, are you a parent who is detained and separated from your children in English and Spanish? We have normalized family separation to the point where there's a standard issue wall poster for it. But I got out after about 4 hours and, was able to go back to my family and sleep in my bed. And I have a good lawyer and I know I'll have due process. They didn't bring charges, but they say the case remains under review. Meanwhile, Edgardo, who's the individual that was detained at the same time as me, remains in ICE custody. We are working on connecting his family with a lawyer and helping find him. But most people that are taken like this do not have lawyers. No one helps their families find them. They really are effectively being disappeared as though they were non-persons.
It is frightening. I keep on reposting on my social media that quote from Anne Frank, terrible things are happening outside, in which she talks about people disappearing. And it is frightening to think that this is the country that we've become, where people disappear. But the other thing that seems to be normalized is arresting elected officials. You are now the third prominent elected official to be arrested, obviously in California and Newark, New Jersey, the mayor of Newark, New Jersey, the senior senator from California. This has become a thing that the Trump regime does. What do you make of that?
Well, look, Pam Bondi has told us what to make of it, U.S. Attorney General. She announced that they are trying to, quote, liberate Democratic cities from their elected officials. I mean, that is like an Orwellian speak for like authoritarianism. The federal government is going to come arrest Democratic elected officials. I think with the idea of both stoking conflict, they want to like provoke in the hopes of then like conflict will escalate and they can use that as an excuse to send in the National Guard like they did in Los Angeles, but also just to stoke fear in everyone. If they can do that to 55-year-old white men with U.S. passports who are elected officials, who are they not going to do it to? And just send very clear signals to frighten and terrorize.
And the thing is that all three of these arrests had to do with migration and detainment. And yes, it does feel like there is a very, you called it Orwellian, the former ambassador to the United States from South Africa calls it white supremacist or supremacist. Push that it is about stoking fear and violence, all specifically around attempting to remove seemingly as many non-white migrants as they can. Am I reading that wrong in your view?
No, I think you're reading it just totally right. I mean, even just the way they do the removals. I mean, in a normal courtroom, if the defendant is, convicted, then the bailiff comes over and gets you from the table. But here what happens is the judge, quote unquote, dismisses your case. You've been stripped of status. I went back today. I was in immigration court again this morning and I witnessed a family separation. Like it was a couple that came up. They moved just to strip him of status. She's 8 months pregnant, and they're sitting at the table. I mean, yeah, and then the judge is like, okay, case dismissed. And then the people are like looking around because they don't quite understand what has happened. And they walk out of the door of the courtroom. And then in the elevator lobby is a gang of people in masks and not uniforms who descend on you in a very aggressive and violent way, grab the individual without saying anything. They don't say, Mr. So-and-so, you're being detained under this authority. They just grab you. It's so yes, it is. They are really, that's not normal, right? Like that is what happens in non-democracies. That is not a real justice system. And I think they're doing it very visibly. Like they want to push this idea forward that they are in control. And neither, democratic officials nor the rule of law is going to get in their way.
And I read in the Guardian, and you can tell me if this is accurate, that you actually talked to two of the masked men who grabbed you, and one was a Pakistani immigrant, and the other, and this one hits close to home, was Guyanese, but Indo-Guyanese. So it looks like they're using immigrants to detain other immigrants. It kind of reminds me of the enslavement system where they would sometimes use other enslaved Africans as overseers. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, I mean, my first thought was like, welcome to New York City, where even the ICE agents are immigrants. But yes, I mean, look, these guys were ICE agents under Biden, and I'm not saying that was a good system, but it's like that's how it works. I mean, people they're not born brown shirts, right? Like you sign up for a job like that, and then an authoritarian becomes the leader. And step by step, you get an assignment to go a thing. I mean, one thing, I don't know if I've said this in public before, but like as the first guy was sitting with me, I don't have my phone. He has his. And he's like, okay, this is blowing up on the internet. And then he says, my wife wants me to quit my job, but I don't know how I'll pay my mortgage.
Right.
Like, it's wrong to grab and separate families and whisk people away without due process. And I'm sure some people get off on it, but I think plenty of people are good folks themselves in immigrant families and then get swept up in unacceptable behavior. I really do feel like we are making a choice right now about whether we will be, between decency and indecency. And that is why it's important to stand up.
And amen. I mean, and the thing that's happening is that, people are being masked and people are like, well, why are they covering their faces? That might be one of the reasons why. You have to go back to your community. You have to go back to your people, go back to your neighborhood, and you're one of the people disappearing people. There's probably a little shame, tied up in that. I'll take that one. I won't make you respond to it. There are a bunch of people running for mayor. You are one of them. I'll give the names: Adrienne Adams, Andrew Cuomo, Brad Lander, yourself, Zelenor Reid, Jessica Ramos, Scott Stringer, Michael Blake, and Whitney Tilson. I've counted at least 3 people who you all are cross-endorsing each other, seemingly to block out Andrew Cuomo. Is that correct, that you all are sort of cross-endorsing? Because I know you have cross-endorsed Mr. Mamdani. Is that the goal, to block out Andrew Cuomo? Because I know this is it's sort of a winner-take-all, everyone's in the primary, top 3 win.
Yes, and ranked choice is a sort of, confusing system if you haven't been in it before. It's not that confusing to rank. You get 5 choices and you pick your favorite first, and you go down to 5, and you don't have to put people on you wouldn't want to be responsible for. Because Andrew Cuomo has so much name recognition, he's likely to place first. But most New Yorkers do not want to go back to a corrupt, abusive, avatar of the failed past. If we can put enough of the voters together of other candidates, we will have a majority of voters. And 4 years ago, when Eric Adams was elected, the second and third place finishers were Maya Wiley and Catherine Garcia. They were 1 and 2 on my ballot. And if they had just been 1 and 2, if the vast majority of each of their voters had ranked the other one, then we wouldn't have had Eric Adams and this whole horrible timeline of selling out our city to Donald Trump for his part. And So yes, I thought it was important. So Zohran Mamdani and I have cross-endorsed each other. Now, it's a positive thing also. I think he is a person of decency and integrity. He's inspiring people with a campaign about a New York that people could afford. I'm proud to be cross-endorsing him and encouraging people to rank me first and him second. The Working Families Party also has a slate that has him, me, Zelnor Myrie, and Adrian Adams. But under no circumstances should any of your viewers rank Andrew Cuomo, who was a corrupt and abusive governor. He is running a corrupt and abusive and utterly uninspiring campaign. And when we say he would be a corrupt and abusive mayor, we mean he will keep sexually harassing people at City Hall. We mean, it won't be a city that hires a great schools chancellor to build great schools for your kids. So yeah, there's a lot on the line right now, and that choice between decency and indecency is being made at a lot of levels.
And the thing is that name ID is such a powerful force in elections that it really does take like a group effort to defeat somebody who's got a name, right? Or that has the national party's endorsement. We just saw in New Jersey a lot of energy behind Ras Baraka, but the endorsed party approved sort of moderate getting the nomination. And then the question is, can that person inspire the base to come out? And it becomes an issue. I want to get your comment on the fact that Columbia University activist Mahmoud Khalil has now been released from an immigration jail. He was in custody for 104 days in the United States of America without trial. His release, what do you make of that?
For engaging in nonviolent, peaceful protest,
Correct.
And at a moment when there's all this, speaking of those masks on those ICE agents, right? There's all these people angry about protesters who wore masks. What Mahmoud did was not wear a mask. That's why he was out there, in his own name, saying things in a nonviolent way. You don't have to agree with every single thing he said to recognize that nobody ought to spend 3 months in jail, including the birth of their son. So I hope they have one amazing baby shower, but yeah, delighted that Mahmoud Khalil is out. But unfortunately, at the same time that he's out, I watched 3 people get taken in today, and just in the hour or so that I was at that immigration court this morning.
I mean, and we are waiting for the audience, and thank you all for being here. I want to thank also those of you who have joined as members. So thank you, Gail. Thank you, all of you who have joined as members and that are watching this live right now. We really, truly appreciate you. I do want to, we are waiting for Zohran Mamdani to come on. I know you all are campaigning. You guys are out there doing events and everything. So I'd appreciate you jumping on because I know it's been a really, really crazy time. For you, what would be the most important thing to do differently from Eric Adams if you were to become the mayor?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot because, of course, the basic concerns of New York City residents, beyond this particular issue of standing up for our immigrant neighbors. I mean, this is a mayor who's failed to make housing more affordable and protect tenants, who's raised the rents on rent-stabilized tenants 10% over the last 3 years, who has failed to take an approach that gets mentally ill homeless folks off the subways and streets and into supportive housing, who's cut our schools and library budget. So, I'm running for mayor to deliver a safer and more affordable and better run New York City for every single New Yorker, whether you're here since birth or since breakfast, on this issue of asylum seekers specifically. I mean, it's not just, Eric Adams is on the side of the ICE agents and Donald Trump for his own pardon. Honestly, before his pardon, it seemed that was the way he was even before. But he's helping Tom Homan trying to put ICE on Rikers Island and has done absolutely nothing for the families I'm talking about. And Governor Hochul helped come and get me released yesterday and announced $50 million more for legal services for folks facing deportation. And I'm pleading with Eric Adams and the city council to add over $100 million to the city budget. I mean, I was honored to stand with Edgardo on Tuesday, but you know what? It would have been way better for Edgardo was to have a lawyer rather than to have me. And he doesn't have any right to it, but we could have paid to get him one and, register his appeal. So I think that's the single biggest issue here. I think what New York City could do and cities and states around the country could do is scale up legal service. In two of the hearings I was in this morning, the people did have lawyers and they did have appeals filed, and their cases were not dismissed and they were not stripped of status. So for one thing cities and states could do is do everything we can to make sure folks facing deportation have a lawyer.
Brad Lander, I want to thank you very much and wish you the best of luck in this mayoral race. I think that it is sort of an ABC, anybody but Cuomo. I think a lot of people are feeling that as long as somebody that has a progressive mindset and is a good human being and actually cares about the fact that this is a city of immigrants, literally the city of immigrants, where the Statue of Liberty is, should not be a city where people are being disappeared off the streets as if it is Anne Frank's Germany in the 1930s. It is terrifying to think that New York City would descend to that. So I want to thank you so much for what you did for Edgardo and what you're continuing to do, and for also cross-endorsing Mr. Mamdani. I hope one of y'all wins. Honestly, we're rooting for the two of you.
Thank you, Joy. I really appreciate it. It's an honor to be on with you. He and I were actually campaigning together earlier today. We'll be at National Action Network with Reverend Sharpton together tomorrow. But still say hello to him.
Please say hi to my big brother, Reverend Al, when you get to National Action Network. Tell him I said, hey, thank you so much.
And you say hello to Zoran when he comes on.
I will do that. I will do that. Okay, we got a deal.
Thanks,
Thank you very much. All right, y'all. So that's it. If you are a New York City voter, you need to look sharp and think about it, because this is a big choice. And don't go with name ID. Andrew Cuomo was the governor of the state. And do you really want him to be the mayor? Are you sure about that?